something that separated himself from
Yeah, I think the thing we liked about him is it's obvious to see what he's good at with his skill set. He's got great hands, great playmaker. He can do everything. He scores some beautiful goals. He does all the stuff that can wow you. But then he does the other stuff too. Like he was great at stripping pucks. He was great at back checking. He was great at the physical play when the series got pretty intense in the playoffs, and it was clear they were targeting him. And he not only took it, but he gave it back. And it was impressive to see him raise his game at the time of the year when it matters most, which is playoff hockey. I think you watch the NHL playoffs and you see how intense it can be, and then you look at the way he plays, and you can see that game translates.
Did you have a sense of what Colorado and Los Angeles were doing? Did you entertain the idea of moving down at all and getting this together? Did you look into it at all?
Well, we were excited about where we were picking, so I think there wasn't really any talk of other teams moving up, so it was something that we were really comfortable with the player. And like I just said a minute ago, when you see what Kirby's capable of doing, you get excited about that, and I'm very comfortable picking him.
We were all expecting so many fireworks today from all the teams, and there's nothing going on. Why do you think that happened?
As far as like trades, you mean? I can't answer that.
Salary cap an issue, not knowing exactly what it's going to be. Does that play into it?
Well, draft day trades usually are not cap related. It's more moving up to get certain players and whatnot. But I don't know. I can't speak to why there's not more activity. But for us, the focus today was making the pick, and so not really surprised. There's only one team that traded up, I think, Arizona.
No player.
No, there wasn't. I'm not sure why that is.
Stan Kirby's rep is more of an offensive type of a player. Were your people surprised at his ability to play that 200-foot type of center game?
No, not surprised. I think you want to see if he does it and if he can do it. You're right. I think when you think of him, if you would have asked people 6 months ago to describe what kind of a game he plays, it's about the skill and the playmaking. I mean, he makes some. He makes those kind of plays that only the elite players make. He seems to have that vision. He can see guys, and he's such a long reach that and he's got really good hands for a big guy. So he holds the puck out away from his body, and it's really hard to get it from him. So sometimes guys who do that, they don't have the quick hands to then be able to move around when they're challenged. But he's got it all, and then you see that when the game matters, he can raise his game. So he's a competitive kid. He really wants to be a player. I mean, that's the thing. In the interview process, you try to get to understand them and really see what motivates them, what makes them tick. And I was really impressed with, he wants to be the best player. He wants to be the best player in the game, and he's driven to do it. He's very respectful, though. Like, I think he knows that it's a process and it doesn't just happen overnight. But I was very impressed with his approach to the game.
He's been a center his entire career, yet last year at the Hlinka Gretzky, he played right wing.
Right.
Do you foresee him being a center with the Blackhawks, or can he be a right winger for you?
I think he's got versatility there. I mean, I think it's tantalizing to look at his game in the middle. I think that's what eventually he'll be. Whether he is that right away, I don't know, and that's something for the coaches to talk about. But I think it's nice to know that he moved to the wing and he was very effective in that tournament, one of the top players in the tournament. So, and he even talked about that, how he knew his game was a little different. He sort of approached it like he wanted to be a big power forward that tournament. So I think he can mold his game to the role that he's given. I think that not every player is able to do that, but I think first and foremost you look at him as a center.
As the guy who calls the Saskatoon Blades games, I'd be foolish if I didn't at least ask you what your plans are for him moving into next season. Will he be a Blackhawk next year, or do you see him needing to come back to Saskatoon and get a year of seasoning in the Dach?
It's too early to tell. I think we're going to give him the opportunity. I'm going to bring him to training camp, and then at that point, he's just like every other player. He's there to earn a spot on the team. So I don't want to put any expectations on it. I think he's going to have a chance to make our team.
Some people thought maybe go with the defenseman. Did you guys weigh that, and I guess where Boquist is and Mitch, all those guys, how much of that played in the equation of where you guys feel like you are defensively in the pipeline?
It wasn't so much whether we needed a defenseman or needed a forward. When you look at the projection of where we think Kirby can get his game to, it was for us it was an easy decision. Just really impressed with his ability to sort of do everything. And he's a young kid. Obviously, it takes time for it to all come together. So we got to be patient with it. But I know that when he does put everything together, he's an impressive player.
Having said that, I guess the one thing that I heard from the scouts was that his production in year wasn't as high as some people hoped. I guess it's more about potential at this point than the numbers weren't exactly where people maybe thought they would.
Yeah, I mean, he had over a point a game in his draft year. That's pretty hard to do, So I'm not sure. I guess everybody could have scored more than they did, but I think the biggest thing was just the fact that he was able to raise his level of play when the games mattered the most. I mean, sure, I think most young players probably could work to be more consistent, from beginning of a game to the end of the game and beginning of the season to the end. I think that's sort of a progression that young players go through. He's no different from that perspective, and you want them to be at their best every night of the year. But I think when you look at his response to his team needed him to be a factor, and in those games down the stretch, and he was able to kind of take his game to that next level, and that's something that you're going to have to do at the NHL level if you want to be an impact player.
Did the state of your system play any role in maybe deciding ties between who could take?
What do you mean by that?
As far as maybe needing forwards more than defensemen.
Well, I think you need everything. I mean, every team needs you need elite centers, you need defensemen, you need all positions. So we didn't look at it that way, where one position is more important than another position. The appeal of Kirby is his ability to impact the game in a big way, and that was something we were very attracted to.
You see the scouts sometimes come in and they sort of make a case for guys. What was it about the way they made their case for him? What you saw that really put him over the top?
Well, I think when you're part of the process is to project where's the player going to be in 2 to 3 years, 4 years, when they've really established themselves in the league, and you're projecting out what can they be if each of these players becomes the best version of themselves. What would that look like? And I think in Kirby's case, if he becomes the player that he can become, which remains to be seen, but it's our job now to help him get there. I think we ask him to put in the effort, and we need to guide him along as coaches and as the organization. But if you look at the player that he could become, if everything works out and he reaches his most potential, that's a really impressive player, and that's the kind of player that you can't get anywhere. That can do a little bit of everything with the size, the strength, the skill set, the instincts, and the playmaking and the intensity. I don't know where you find those players.
Do you like where the
Take one more for Stan.
I guess it's just center depth is lining up with strong
Yeah, I think. Well, it's obviously an important position if you're strong down the middle. I think that was something that wasn't a strength of our team last year. I think we're better when Dylan came in. I think it helped us quite a bit. But you look at some of the other teams. I think we need to be stronger down the middle, and I think Kirby's certainly a big part of that future. Whether it'll factor in next season or not, that's too early to tell. But I think looking forward, I think it's going to be a big strength of our team.